I'd like to bring the meeting to order, please.
Did you hear from Dawn that the intent is okay?
Almost immediately. Thank you. Open the meeting with public comment. If you have something you'd like to say, something to address, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. You come up to the microphone. You face the select board. State what you'd like to state. All I ask is if it's on a subject that is already on the agenda, you wait till we get to that subject to get to it. Anyway. Chief, I recognize you.
I'm actually here on behalf of Joe Bassett called me over the weekend. There's a company that's Adaptive Driving Experience. Basically what they have is they have a form of a race car, and it's set up so that people with disabilities can actually have a driving experience on the track. And I met this group at one of the race events this past summer. And you know, I think what they're doing is phenomenal. So they are going to do, they're trying to put together a commercial. And what they want to do is they want to be able to use Lee USA Speedway in the commercial. So that would involve putting the car on the track, they won't be racing it, they'll just be filming it, go around, explaining what, you know, the program is about. They want to do it next Saturday. So when Joe called me, I said, well, I'll bring it up for you Monday night. He was able to make it here tonight. So Joe can explain more about it.
Yeah, it's actually a program that was near to my heart and Norm's before he passed, because they're focusing more on the wounded veterans, and I've been involved with them for the past 5 years. And they've gone through regime changes, and now they're a nonprofit, so they want to get this commercial going for their shows in the off season and try to raise some money over the winter. And when they asked if they could come, I said, technically, we're not a racetrack after November 1st, and I have to come to you. And so their plans are on hold until I could come here.
How long do you figure you'll be there?
Probably 45 minutes to an hour tops. It would be parade laps. So what they want to do more is film the person getting in the car and then showing them driving away and just going around the track. It's basically going to be a pace lap. And it's got a crate motor, and it's not any louder than a pickup truck.
Well, we would have had this on the agenda as a formal item, but Joe and the chief didn't find out about it until Friday afternoon. And they copied me on the email, and this seemed like a good way to present. Just so there was no communication, miscommunication.
But nothing,
Comments, questions?
nothing for the neighbors to worry about. There's no extra noises. There's nothing that's going to be
No, it'll be the sound of almost a regular
like all the
street
cars
car.
going by.
Yeah, they're not going to be going at high speeds, high RPMs.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. You okay with it? Yeah.
It's a great project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we go into a public hearing, and we'll ask Steve to come up, talk about, let's see, we're going to start with talking about holidays, and then we'll move on.
That is the bulky waste public hearing folder.
Oh, okay.
Which one are we doing first?
Well, we're doing the request permission to close the transfer station on Saturday, December 25th.
No.
That's what I've got on mine.
Okay,
You have to do the public
the
hearing.
public hearing,
Has to be
That's
first.
just in the public, it's underneath the public hearing.
right, the public hearing material is actually in the green folder, and it's on the recommended new prices for bulky waste items at the transfer station.
Yep, okay.
Steve's here for both of them.
So,
Thank you very much.
procedure, we just need to declare the public hearing open.
I'm sorry?
You just need to declare. the
Okay,
public
so we'll open for a public hearing now. Can I get a second?
hearing. No,
Come on, give me a second.
You don't-
Just give me a second.
Second,
Just
but
give me
you
a
don't need
second.
it.
Don't argue, just give me a second.
Second, but you don't need it.
My God. You're up, Steve.
So unfortunately, we've been doing the proposed slate since I took over in the transfer station. Everything in the transfer station when I got there said $200 a ton. We didn't find out about it until someone started arguing that the website was different, and that's what brought this up. So I think it was a mistake when they did the original public hearing in 2018, and it always should have been $200 a ton, because if you do the math, it, for 50 to 100 pounds at $10 for that, if you do the math all the way out, it should be $200 a ton. So the way it is now, once they get to 1,000 pounds, the next 1,000 pounds is free, which isn't accurate. So what I think happened is the previous manager realized his mistake and then just put it to what it should have been and never bothered to come back.
Okay.
So the only fee difference would be to make it the actual $200 a ton all the way up through. So on the paper where it's proposed, once you got to the 1,000 pounds, it would just start over and then 1051 to 1,100 would be 110 and not free like it is now.
Do we, so that's more clarified in the way you're writing it now, just so there's no confusion.
It was, yeah, it's.
Yeah, I just saw the, okay, I just saw the 100 to 200.
And basically, Steve, this just puts, we're the same on every page.
Yeah, so a gentleman came in, he wasn't exactly nice and said the website was official and my guys weren't official and he wasn't gonna pay it, so. They told him he could, they load his truck back up and he could go someplace else. He paid it, but that's what got us looking at it, because I never looked at the website and I probably should have. It's just, there's 5 things in the transfer station that say $200 a ton, so that's always what I went with.
Okay,
I'm okay with it.
you're all right with it?
Yeah. I have a comment about it.
I just
So,
want to understand. So
Okay.
if I have 101 plus pounds, it says 100, and then a ton is 2, but where does it say 100 and 200 pounds is 100 and 200 or something? I'm just wondering if somebody comes to you and they have 100, 1,500 pounds.
If they have 1,500 pounds, so the price is $100 for 1,001 plus pounds, and then you reset and go back to the beginning.
As long as that's clear.
So I
there's
didn't-
any confusion.
I didn't put, if I did that, it'd be a whole nother page long.
Right, right.
So I was just trying to shorten it up.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that nobody comes to you and says, 1,000 plus is, if it's clear, that's great.
This should make it exactly the same on paper, in the manual, and on the signs.
That's the way to go.
okay, making a motion to approve the fee schedule as presented. Can I get a
A
second?
second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Selectman Bugby.
Can you check to see if anybody has any comment?
Oh, yeah. 'cause it's
I'm sorry?
public
Can,
hearing.
it's a public hearing, you have to ask if the public
Oh, okay.
has any comment.
Have I got any comments from the public?
The nature of a public hearing.
Since I've already gotten a second. Select person Casper,
Yes.
Selectman Brown, yes. Motion passes.
Selectman Bugby votes yes too.
Well. All right, we're gonna move on. So now, I think we're at the holidays request.
Yeah,
Right.
So we're closing the public hearing.
There you go.
I just,
6:07.
Christmas falls on a Saturday, New Year's Day falls on a Saturday. There's been a lot of people in other towns saying how they can't be closed 2 Saturdays in a row. I had a lot of complaints, we were even closed Thursday, so. And a lot of people tried to go to the transfer station on Thursday. So I just wanted to get your blessing on being closed on the 2 federal holidays that the transfer station's supposed to be open.
Can we at least expand the hours on the Tuesday after Christmas? Because that's when all the people bring in all their stuff.
Yeah, as long as we're okay with working more than 10 hours.
Is there another alternative that would be?
I don't know, I'm just thinking, because the day after Christmas, everybody brings in their wrapping paper, all the stuff that's left over, and it's just like a
I
zoo.
mean, we're already closed. We're already open 12 hours, so if you wanna,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's,
Well, I thought don't you switch?
no,
Shorten
so
hours,
we're open 7 to 5:45, but they get there at 6 to open the building up and open it, and a lot of people go in at 6 in the morning to get rid of their trash on their way to work.
All right. I thought you guys change it when it gets like daylight savings time, you cut back even, no.
No.
I thought you did that. Okay, never mind.
Okay,
I would never think that it would be open on those days, yeah, so, absolutely.
okay, do we need a motion for this? No,
Just
okay.
wanted
We're all right.
to-
We
I
got
just wanted to make it
consensus. Go
known.
ahead.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
and let's advertise it, so it's in
Chief Dronsfield.
So just here to make the board aware of a parking issue we had at Bedrock Gardens on Columbus Day weekend. On October 10th, Sergeant Doty was patrolling High Road and he came upon Bedrock Gardens and the road was all congested. He estimated around 10 cars. Looked like a couple of employees from Bedrock Gardens out in the road. They weren't wearing traffic vests, so he doesn't know if they were doing traffic or not, but he made contact, asked what was going on. They said, well, the parking lot's full. We're trying to figure this out. And he said, well, you gotta get this road open. And he said, if you're gonna have further events like this, you're gonna need to hire a detail officer. On the next day, on the 11th, I took a call here at the PD on Columbus Day from a resident down there, said, hey, they're parking cars on the side of the road. So I sent Sergeant Doty down. He called me, they're parked on the side of 152, side of High Road. You have some pictures of the parking. You can see some of the cars on Route 152, that's the picture with the 40-mile-per-hour sign in view. We're over the white line, State Road, obviously an issue. So we went out and I think I met with with Bob.
Was there, yeah.
And he was at the entrance to the parking lot, and I said, okay, what's going on? He said, well, we're full, trying to, turn people around. I said, we get cars parked on the side of the road, we can't have that. And he said, I'm not aware. And I said, well, if you know your parking lot's full and you're turning people away, you need to be aware of where they're going. And Karen was out there, and I believe she was told they were parking,
At Linda Ellison's.
but obviously, people from Massachusetts don't know where that is, so they just parked. So on High Road, if you're leaving High Road heading towards Harvey Mill, they were parked on the right, up to the stop sign, and then directly across the street, they started going up the hill on Harvey Mill. So it was an issue. So Karen had brought it to the zoning board. They said, well, you should go talk to the selectmen to make them aware of it. That's what we're doing. It's an FYI that was an issue this year. So it's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on for next year.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
any comments, any questions?
John?
Thank you. Just to say that we immediately said that we would be glad to hire a parking detail for next year. Makes perfect sense to us. The vehicles were out of our sight, but we did everything we could to control the folks that were within our sight. But it'll just, I think, make a big difference next year having a police detail. So, and we'll also work on controlling the numbers. So appreciate your help. Thank you.
State your name,
John Forty.
thanks.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ben?
Jill Mooney. I also have to say that the signs were very helpful that went up the next day, because people would say,
Could you bring that microphone down a little bit, so?
how do I know that I'm not supposed to park on the road? I said, trust me, you don't want to park on the road. So I think that will take care of a big problem next year.
Anyone, public comments? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on. And we are with Scott Nemeth, Fire Chief.
So here's the paperwork. You've already signed the paperwork for this, but maybe there's a motion to.
Good evening. On October 18th, the paperwork for the EMPG grant was included in the consent agenda and the board signed it. But because it's a state grant, we need the board to make a motion to accept it so we can have it in the minutes so that we can send that off with the signed document to the state. So the motion is down at the bottom.
We got a motion here somewhere.
It's right there.
I knew it was there somewhere. Okay, the select board, in the majority vote, accepts the terms of the New Hampshire Emergency Management Performance Grant as presented on October 18th, 2021, in the amount of $4,000 to update the town of Lee's emergency operations plan. Furthermore, the board acknowledges that the total cost of this project will be $8,000, in which the town will be responsible for a 50% match, meaning $4,000. Can I get a second?
Second?
Roll call vote. Selectman Bugby?
Yes.
Selectperson Casper?
Yes.
Selectman Brown? Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, number 7 is Terry Brown to talk about the league readers. This goes back to when we were doing our goals and objectives for the year. One of the things that I put on my list, if you would, was a welcome wagon type of effort. As we got new residents in, we would generate a welcome wagon procedure that would allow contact with the new residents. For those of you that aren't familiar with the welcome wagon, they've been around a long time. However, with COVID, because in fact people were buying goods from Welcome Wagon, and it was kind of like a Avon Products or something like that. And you would have a basket, and you'd go and you'd visit the neighborhood or the neighbor or the person and welcome them to the town, etc., learn a little bit about them, just different ways of packaging it. But as I looked at the Welcome Wagon website, and I started thinking about, well, I don't think we need to buy anything from Welcome Wagon for the league readers. We have, I think, a very good committee, if you would, committee structure and organization. And if we could pull together a committee called League Readers, they in turn could organize the program. We would go and get local coupons, we would go and get local vendors, et cetera, and make a visit and welcome them. At the same time, learn something about the residents that are coming to Lee and why they're coming to Lee. And to know a little bit more about who's here, who's coming, why are they coming, and hopefully, over the past few meetings, a little bit longer than a few, we've had comments about whether we're a friendly town or not when people are moving in and so on. So that's where we are. I would like to organize a League Readers Committee. If we can put that into the League, you with me? Okay, and advertise it and see if we can start forming a league readers committee. I'll be happy to participate in the formation of it and get it started, et cetera, but we need to, I think we need probably six, 7 people at the most for it. And then we'll start working on the procedure itself, what we'll do, how we'll do it, et cetera.
Certainly Denise can get that into the e-crier, and I'll get it on Facebook. We can work to generate some interest.
Okay, great. Do I need to, can I just get concurrence for this? Be all right?
Great.
Okay, all right. Yes, sir.
Andy, could you, when you do that, could you make it so we could share it?
Yes,
on our other
absolutely.
pages?
All right. Thank you very much. Andy, you're up.
Okay, first order of business for myself is a revisit to the baseball field at Little River Park, specifically the naming of it. I know the board had expressed some reservation about naming it after one individual and had asked if I could possibly work up some other language for that. So the language that I had worked up would be a motion to name the baseball field at Little River Park the Lee Memorial Baseball Field, and to further install a plaque or sign inscribed with the dedication in loving memory of those called away from the game too soon, with appropriate space left for the names of those so designated to be placed on the plaque or sign by the Lee Select Board, with Matt Sarno to be the first name affixed to the memorial. And I have that set up as a motion, and I don't know what the board's pleasure is, but I will give it to the chair.
I love it. It's great.
Okay, we've heard the motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
Roll call vote. Select person, or Selectman Bugby.
Yes.
Select person Casper.
Yes.
Selectman Brown, yes. Motion passes.
Okay, the next item I had was the computer replacement plan. We had a grid that was difficult to follow at a previous meeting, and it also was a little bit inaccurate. So I made just a simpler listing of what we have for computers in town right now, when they were last replaced, and that's the year installed. I would note, I've also got 3 replacements that were budgeted that are on here as ordered. We are in regular touch with Back Bay, but we have not received the computers yet. We also have one that's on site. This is Bill Stevens' computer that is here. It needs to be installed, and we're waiting for Steve to get back and install it for him. I think when I look through this, the priority to my mind is the server in the town offices, which is a 2014 or 2013 server, was slated to be replaced in 2020/21 and was not. I've talked to Steve a little bit about that, and he suggested that if we're not going to do it this year, and I don't believe we have the money in this budget to do it, that we plan it in the 23 budget. Given the lead time needed for this sort of thing, he would like to put it in this budget, order it in March for a hopefully July delivery, and work in that fashion. But that was his recommendation to me going through this. Other than the server, once we get these replacements done, we should be done with 2014 machines and Windows 7 software. And there are a few 2015 and 2016 units in here, but I think we're probably good for another year at least before we need to start looking at major changes. The only thing that might affect this is Steve Bullock has a couple of computers that weren't installed by Back Bay and were never on the original computer inventory or computer list. And these are things that I believe have been rescued from the transfer station and put into service. And they are fairly primitive, and the board has discussed a possible software for public works, that sort of thing. So Steve's computer is actually fairly new and in good shape, but he's got some clunkers that I believe Pete is using for parts inventory and parts ordering, that sort of thing that he would possibly like to see replaced, I know.
Could that be part of the original cost when we're doing that getting that program up and running, that having the proper tools.
I certainly would think it could be, just
Yeah.
throwing it out there because it's not on the replacement schedule or inventory that we had for the town.
Well, that was one of my concerns, I guess, is with the implementation of the new financial planning tool, are we currently capable of handling all that, data processing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Or is there something more we need to do if we're gonna be upgrading here to make sure that we can handle it?
I think we'd have to figure out how much it would cost and then add that to just the total.
Yeah.
And then it would be part of the tool.
Just remember, system and Excel program, that's all it is.
No, but along with the Excel program, I think we need to have in that budget, because right now I think that's like about 4,000 or something, but if you could also have included, I think we talked about tablets or something like that, or whatever that.
Oh, with
program-
Steve's thing,
Yeah.
it's two different things.
The,
Financial planning tool?
oh, no, I'm
Okay,
sorry,
sorry.
I'm talking about the tool that Steve was also telling us about.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Is
do
it
inventory and all that stuff.
Basically inventory and asset management,
Right.
that sort of thing.
That's
So
fine.
make that all one price.
So it's an inventory control module is what it is.
Right.
Can I ask Steve a question? This transfer station, there's a Windows 7 computer in here. Do you guys still use that? Is that in the office?
We try to, but it doesn't run.
Do you need one in there?
No, probably not.
So it'd be great because Windows 7 isn't supported anymore, so we should get rid of those as soon as possible. I noticed all the other ones have been ordered or there's a replacement coming. Can I ask another question? I don't know if you know this, but is Steve and or us, are we doing the trickle down? I assume some of them are coming from planning and zoning, so I assume some of our users are super users and their computers get given to somebody else, or how do you guys do that?
Under this schedule, we have not, I have not planned to trickle down the computers that are being replaced because they're 2014s
It is fine.
and they're just so clunky. The
Yep.
one that Liz has, she'll have to turn it on and off 2 or 3 times to get through payroll, and the assessing computer that Scott Marsh and Sean use
Yep.
just routinely refuses to stay online. We've had Steve in to look at it. He has, he's told me some things I don't entirely understand, but the long and short of it is they're really old machines that are fairly beat.
So I guess, just as a sidetrack, if you could, or Denise, or whoever it is, or Steve, you've got dates in terms of these, can you find out from Steve when those are targeted to be replaced? So we can say, okay, year 1, these are the people that needs to be replaced, the cost. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean?
I do
So it's like a
exactly,
schedule.
and I think that as of right now, there doesn't seem to be a schedule beyond this
Yeah,
year.
that's what I'm
So
looking for.
I'll have to create one with Steve, but that was indeed my intention.
Okay,
moving
excellent.
forward.
Excellent.
And then are there some computers that need to be replaced within a few years? Are you asking then if those could be
Yes,
trickled down?
because-
Okay.
Like, for instance, the police chief, his was replaced in 2020, but does his need replaced in 2025, 2022, whatever that happens to be? So we can get an idea in terms of what those costs are gonna be on an annual basis? That'd be great.
Yep, and we've got a slate of 2015 year computers in there too that are functioning well right now, but as
Not for long.
software develops, they probably won't be.
Okay, thank you.
Just a real-time update, Steve just texted me and said that he's gonna bring them tomorrow. They're coming.
Well, there you
Oh, okay.
Some impressive work.
The ones that we ordered.
Text him back and tell him we've got even more work for him, so.
Okay, moving along, I had sent an email just alerting the board to the fact that Denise and I were both getting a number of phone calls from primarily elderly folks who hadn't had tax bills due to the elderly tax exemption in prior years, and this year with the revaluation suddenly did have tax bills. And I sent along a copy, and I've got another copy here to you all this week. It was available as a click that shows you exactly who you've got for elderly exemptions in the town. It also shows you how many people previously had no tax bill and now have one, and gives you some idea of the range there. I also included just some information that I had done that I mentioned at Wednesday's meeting, we are in the top 10 or the top 5 for generosity with regard to elderly exemptions. And on some of these, I did the 3 categories and the max assets that you're allowed to keep. We're a little bit low, we're 10th on the maximum assets, but we're number 7 for the 80+ exemption at 270. We're number 4 for the 75 to 79 exempt class, and we're number 5 for the 65 to 74 exempt class. And the communities you see above us are, you can see them, Portsmouth, Newington, Nashua, for the most part. So I think Lee is in a pretty good spot with regard to what we offer for the elderly exemption. But wanted to bring that to your attention because we have had a number of people, one of the people that I talked to hadn't had a tax bill in over a decade and suddenly had a $2,800 tax bill that clearly wasn't planning for. The mobile home sites and campground owners have been hit fairly hard, as have their owners. There's a couple of options available to the board. Obviously, you can abate taxes. You can abate taxes for hardships. So if you have individuals that come to you, you can do as you will with those individuals. You also, with regard to the credit amount you can use for the exemption, the sky is the limit. The state sets minimums and leaves the maximum up to the Board of Selectmen or the town or city councils in each town. So that is completely at your disposal as well. And you also have the tax deferral provision, which allows you to defer up to 85% of the equity value in a homestead. Comes with 5% interest, and it's a little bit risky because unlike back taxes, you are not the primary lien on the property. You're behind the mortgager and just about anyone else that might be there. So I know sometimes boards of selectmen shy away from the deferral option.
So right now, they're not paying any. Is that what you're saying?
You have some people that aren't, but you have a
Some people
much
that aren't.
smaller number of people not paying anything than you did last year.
Okay. And
And you've got some people that haven't had a tax bill for 10, 13, 14 years that this year suddenly had a tax bill of $2,000 or $2,800.
they didn't know what was coming.
And they might have been able to figure it out, but they weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give you that information, and Denise and I met with Scott Marsh, and Scott is arranging appointments with people. And I know Sean was busy all day today with people in his office and people at the window that wanted to be in his office. So we're working through it, and a lot of people, once the explanation is worked through, they're not necessarily happy, but they understand it and are fine with it. I know we've had several people that came in looking for abatement forms that after they talked with one of us have been, okay, I understand, never mind.
So I just like to make sure that the people that are on this list now that are on, that owe something, that they are aware that there is a hardship they can apply for. So hopefully Scott's telling them that.
I'm assuming that he is. His discussions with Denise and I, that was going to be his plan, that you can apply for abatement, and if you get your abatement, you get a refund with interest back to the date the bill was due. So.
Okay. The other thing I'd like the board to explore, I've called around some different towns. I did call out 274, but we're not the only ones getting hit with this. Many other towns are experiencing the same thing. So I'd like us to maybe do an assessment in terms of what these particular exemption amounts are, and it has to go before the legislative body to increase them or to change them, because we could reduce them. But I'd like us to explore that. I don't know if we can help every single one of them, but I think just based on in terms of what the values of homes have gone up just in the last 1 to 2 years, I think it needs to be increased personally, I think.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what it is you're asking to be increased.
This exemption amounts, just based on in terms of the age of the particular person that owns the property, there's different exemption amounts.
Okay.
And we set those, I don't remember how many years ago, And as you know, housing prices have gone up significantly in the last
Right.
2 years. So if somebody's house is worth 300,000 and the exemption and they're 80+ years old, 270,000 of that evaluation is just taken off. They're only paying for 30. But now that their house is worth $500,000, now they're paying based on the valuation of $230,000. So now they're having a significant tax increase.
But you
So-
also understand that on this, we're in the top, like,
Yep.
few of the whole state. And
No,
so to
understand
be
that.
at such a high level where people are actually not even paying taxes at all.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the same increase happened for people in a mobile home or in different homes, and there's no benefit for them. Everyone is dealing with the struggle. So I just want to be very conscious, as awful as it must be to get taxes when you haven't had them, to not have paid them might have been us kind of overcompensated, when you're one of the top 10 towns and out of 200 or something, maybe, we should think about how we're going forward, because I think that there's a balance. We have a lot of people that need help with the taxes. And when a large group is not paying any, that puts more burden on people that might need that.
But if you take a look at the people that aren't paying it, they're mostly people in mobile homes.
Yeah.
Look at the assessments in terms of those. You've got a couple that are in the 100,000, but most of them, 30,000, 20. Those people are in mobile homes. And I'm not trying to be biased and say, if somebody lives in a mobile home, they're poor. That's not true.
But these ones here are the mobile homes, you're saying that down here as well? Because most of the mobile homes are
Well,
above the 170, and they're
The
not
house
paying
that's
any.
157,000 is exactly,
But those people still aren't paying, even with the new changes, they're still
yeah,
not
they are,
paying.
down here, 157. They're paying $1,500–$1,600. And I think just based on the conversation I had with these area towns, they're gonna be increasing their amount. So we might not necessarily be fourth on the 75 to 79%. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying, jack it up to $500,000, but I think we need to consider that we need to increase it a little bit, just based on the price of houses, that people are buying just anything, just paying whatever it is. Some of them are paying more than what is asking price, so.
And now that your tax rate is lower, the actual deduction you're giving them is less too. Your prior tax rate, I think and I didn't include it on here, the average was about a $5,000 credit, and it's considerably less than that given the new tax rate. Not that it doesn't get offset by the revale, but.
I just want the board to consider it.
And I can probably get you a breakdown fairly quickly of how many of these are in parks. If that would be helpful to the board.
Yeah, knowing what other towns are doing as well is really important, and to make sure that we're coming in at a reasonable rate.
Just to give you guys, the last time it was increased was a petition warrant article. That person passed away, but there is somebody working on a petition warrant article to increase it for this year.
Okay, thank you.
I think the idea of those particular exemptions is to help out people who are on a fixed income and stuff. And I think there's a responsibility, at least I think there's a responsibility community-wise, to assist those people a little bit. I don't want to totally get rid of,
Right.
but, those are the people that need our assistance. Just like we go and we put in lots of money for helping out our social agencies, I think this is something that we can do to assist people who are having a hard time, so.
But it's only if you're over a certain age, it's not people that are having a hard time financially, it's just if you're.
There's
I agree, what's the action item? What is it we need to do in order to address it,
Well,
to make a
I
decision?
think we need to decide, because it has to be a warrant article, because we can't do it, the legislative body has to do it. So I think what I'm suggesting is that we take a look, maybe Andy can do it, just to see in terms of, check around with different towns and see what they're thinking. I called just 3, and they're all considering it, and just see what, how things are going for other towns officially. I was unofficial. And also, maybe Scott Marsh has an idea in terms of maybe what that should be. Maybe we go from 270 to 300 or something like that. I know all the assessments went up, 54%? I'm not considering
That was the
that.
average.
I'm not considering that, but I think we need to increase it some.
And I guess for me, I also wanna know, if, you know, I keep trying to figure out what else can we do for people that aren't over 65, that are in this, also have had these, you know, the huge jumps, the 3 times as much, that kind of thing. So I guess, and that's what the abatement.
Yeah, and I think that it's fairly limited, what you can do. Obviously, as a board of selectmen, you can consider hardship abatements on a case-by-case basis, but that could be a slippery slope, for lack of a better
Well,
term.
you can, I mean, you know, what's the definition of a hardship?
And the Supreme Court has defined hardship as the inability to pay taxes in New Hampshire, but it's still.
How do you determine what that is?
Okay.
Okay. Moving along, we have the MRI classification and salary survey. I've also got cost of living adjustment and wages on there. We've pretty much put together the selectmen's budget with the exception of salaries and wages, that sort of thing, not knowing what the board wants to do. And obviously the MRI survey was ordered before my time here, but I've gone through it and have a fair understanding of it. And I'm also concerned the CPI, not the CIP, is closed in October at 5.4%, which understandably, I'm fairly confident the board does not want to grant a 5.4% COLA, but that is much higher than it has been in years past, and I think a cost of living adjustment is something to be considered.
When's the last time we had a cost of living adjustment? I know it wasn't last year, right?
The last 2 years, we've done
Yeah.
bonus type stuff,
Yeah.
things, so.
Whatever the board's pleasure, my primary concern at this point is being able to put together the budget for you with accurate wage and salary information for the.
I think for the moment, you're gonna have to put in what those current numbers are. And I think the 3 of us have to have a conversation. One of the problems I have with the MRI study is what towns they're assessed this against. And I think there's some flawed information in there.
Well,
That's why I said last time that's gonna cause me some extra work. But that's the issue I have with that particular study, so.
there's a few things in the study that I noticed. I had gone through looking at some towns that, to my mind, fit this a little bit too, and I'm not sure where all the wage information came from. Some of it appears to be a year or 2 old. Some of it is just way off. I know I looked at the finance officer, and they have the finance officer in Northampton listed at $55,905, and when I called Northampton, they actually paid their finance director $95,592. Most of the others were off, $1,000 to $3,000, but there was definitely some discrepancy. And when you look at the actual, if you go on and look at the town's budgets and what they're actually paying people and what they have for positions, the towns are sort of all over the place. And I had done that for Denise's position, and it's particularly in this area, it can range from next to nothing to $103,000 with 4 assistants working under you as an assistant.
Depends on a lot of things, exactly.
I guess one of the things I was a little bit disappointed, a lot disappointed, because I thought we were getting something like the municipal association used to do. They used to have those sheets that people fill out, and then they sent them in, and they did a correlation, and they reported back out. And my issue with this is, one, that person that's earning $103,000, is that somebody that just came there? Somebody that's been there 20 years? We have no idea in terms of that, and you don't have any idea just because somebody's a town administrator. You do something different than the people in Madbury do. It's totally different. So how do I know, how do I compare you against the gentleman in Madbury? Madbury's part-time. Does it get reported as part-time or not? So, and I guess I don't have enough information. It's like you've got a little bit of information, but not enough to make an informed decision. And that's what I'm having a problem with. So they say that our salary is like 40% below. Well, there's no way I'm gonna compare Andy Robertson to the city manager in Portsmouth. You do totally different things.
Right.
But if you look, you're probably like 50% less than he's making, because he makes over $200,000, I believe. So how can I make an informed decision with lack of information? I can't.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just, and understand exactly what you're saying, and the municipal association actually still, it doesn't give you length of service, but if you have a login, and if you don't, we can get you one. They have actually fairly up to date. Most of the information is from May or June of this year. Salary survey on their site now, and the tough thing about the salary survey in New Hampshire, and I mentioned the office manager's position again, that there are assistant town administrators, there are assistant administrators, and there are town office managers, and there's 2 or 3 here and 2 or 3 there, and everyone tends to use a little bit different job frame for it, so.
But I know, I went through those numbers as well and looked at towns that are similar in size and that kind of thing. And I think if you looked at what they gave us and then those numbers, and you kind of looked at where people are at, you can make some reasonable, you know.
well, that's what I
movements.
thought I was getting for $10,000, but now I have to do extra work, so.
Well, we can certainly proceed with the budget by plugging in the numbers we have, but
Can you get a report out of MHA's thing, or do you have to do it all?
I think I can probably break that down, because it's not Excel, but it's sort of their own custom spreadsheet setup, and you can search it by position, you can search it by municipality. As I said, whatever position you put in, you get about 3 other towns, one twice the size of you and one half the size of you, it seems. But there is some good information in there, and as I said, most of it was updated as of May or June 2021.
And you can compare the budgets of the towns too and see that kind of thing too, because what you're dealing with.
Yeah, it gives you population.
Yeah, it's also, because the last time we did this, well, it was probably like 10 years ago at least, because there's different parameters for different positions, like for, the road agent, if he's got 10 miles of roads to maintain or 150 miles of roads, those are 2 different things.
Right.
So there's some towns that have tons of roads, some that don't have that many. So.
And you have to have an understanding of what they're using for compensation. I know the town I live in, our neighboring town is Candia. We pay our road agent $55,000, and he hires a fair number of contractors and has a staff of 3. Candia pays their road agent $5,000 and lets him buy into town benefit, and he uses all his own equipment and hires his own men to do the work. And they have about 18
Very
miles of
different.
town road, and we
Yeah.
have about 60 miles of town road, so
Very
you
different.
can't really compare them. And
No.
people try to.
But I think you can look at that and look at what salaries are looking like and see, are we even in the ballpark? Are people, there are a lot of things that I think we can look at and realize we need to get better.
But it's something we need to do as
Absolutely.
soon as possible.
I agree.
So,
That's what I was pushing.
so if you can,
Let's do
so
it.
you guys can just put in, because your presentation is tomorrow.
Yes.
So we're not gonna give you a number between now and tomorrow, so just put in what you have in terms of current ones.
I had discussed that with Denise earlier.
Okay.
We were probably not gonna
You didn't think we'd knock this out?
get a new slate of numbers, but we hope.
So maybe you can get that information to us, and then maybe at the next meeting, we can have a discussion about that.
And I'll get additional information as quickly as I can and send that to you directly, not put it with the agenda, if that's okay.
Maybe we could all go over it ourselves as well and try to
Well, yeah.
give ourselves an idea of what we're aiming for.
Can we move on to E?
Yes, okay, I will move on to E, and this is the Recreation Commission and ex officio members. And I was talking to Corinne about Parks and Rec Commission, and Corinne mentioned that she was an ex officio member, and who's nearby?
Katrin.
Katrin, I'm sorry.
Oh, you changed your name? Okay, Corinne.
Katrin, and she mentioned that she was an ex officio member and the select board's representative, and as such had been advised that she didn't vote and didn't count in the quorum. And I said, well, that's not correct in New Hampshire. I said, if you're appointed by the Board of Selectmen, under the RSA for Parks and Rec Commission, you have full voting rights in the commission, and in most cases, New Hampshire uses the definition of the select board member on the planning board as the definition for what an ex officio member can do. I think I sent you the RSA and the definition, and Katrin had asked if I could bring that up at the meeting, and I did talk to Larry today, and Larry said that, that's just the way it was when I came on on the commission. He said I had no reason to believe that it was anything other than that, because that's the way it had always been done. And I know there is some confusion because Robert's Rules of Order state that at the chair's choosing, the ex officio members do not have to be included in account to make a quorum. But Robert's Rules of Order do not exclude anyone from having voting rights ex officio or not. So that may be what it came out of if you had a parliamentarian of high order that was reading the book.
Yeah, I think for a couple of the different committees that we go on, if you need a quorum to hold a meeting and we don't count as that, then that, that can be the make or break of a meeting, so.
Larry agreed that it would be useful to recognize the ex officio select board member for the purpose of quorum. And I told him, I said I had talked to Katrin about this. I don't think she was violently upset that she wasn't voting,
Nope.
but she did think that if she was included in the quorum, it might allow
A meeting to go on.
meetings to continue. So he agreed.
I'm a member of the Heritage Commission
Mhm.
and a member of the Conservation Commission from this board, and I don't vote, and I'm not ex officio.
And that's what he's saying, is that you could.
To my mind, that's very unusual that you would not vote.
I was told I don't vote.
Right, so
Well,
who
particularly on the
told us
land
this
use
is the
board,
question?
I can send you the RSAs from the appointment, and I can send you the definition by RSA of the members. Particularly for land use boards, you have a full vote.
Well, send one to me too, because I don't vote.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of been how it's been going
The
in the town.
the chair, has the option of, and typically they'll declare this, like the board of selectmen at the beginning of a meeting, that they will not be voting unless it's to make or break a tie.
Okay.
And a tie fails, so that's a prerogative the chair can
Well,
retain.
I need to think about it. I don't know.
The ex officio on the planning board is a regular voting member.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense that you only have some people on these committees, so to have an extra.
Yeah, it made sense to me and surprised me when I,
Yeah, so it sounds like this came from somewhere, some place that isn't necessarily the rules of New Hampshire, and we have just kind of all followed along with it, but it's not that we need to keep doing that.
I'll send you the RSAs and you can determine whether you want to
Great.
move forward with it or not. Under miscellaneous, couple of things. I met with Glenn Reich at 20 Mass Road. This is the mobile home. It's actually not a mobile home. Glenn gave me a tour of the house that, as you may recall, the tenant that owes back taxes has left. Glenn has a writ of possession for the home. His intent, he would like to get the taxes waived by your board and demolish the home. On the outside of the home, it's structurally very sound, actually an attractive home. It supposedly is built around a 1953 mobile home or a 1959 mobile home, but when you get inside, the people that lived there, whose son enhanced the property, essentially removed pretty much in its entirety the original mobile home, and there's the shell of a house around it. Apparently there is still some framework from the original mobile home underneath, but it's very much not a mobile home. It suffered water damage, it's had some cat problems. The bottom line, according to Glenn, is he has a demolition permit for the place next door, which is 16 Mass Road. You may have noticed it as you drive by. It has a large pine tree across the top of it right now. He has an existing demolition permit for that one. The 20 Mass Road, the one in question with the taxes on it, he has gotten two proposals. Contractors have told him it would cost about $40,000 to rehab the house. The demo guy that's coming to do 16 Mass Road told him that he could demo it for $25,000. And Glenn's thought is that he would like to demo both places and put two new double wides in their place. He also would not like to pay the taxes that the tenant who fled to Texas and will not respond to tax bills, that sort of thing, and whom he now owns the mobile home, owes. And his sort of bargaining chip to me was, you can't move the home because there's no mobile home structure that works underneath it. So if you're not interested in working with me and you own the home, I'm going to need to collect rent from you because your home is on my lot that I own. So at that point, I said, well, I will go back to the board and discuss it with them. But as near as I can tell, he is correct. It doesn't look like there's any way to move that home, even though it originally started as a mobile home.
And how much, I don't remember how much it was.
It's about $4,000, I believe, in taxes that are owed on the mobile home. And that was owned by the person that owned the mobile home that fled to Texas.
How many years is
I
that?
was gonna say, how long is that?
Is it 4 years?
3 years?
Since she's been home,
Yeah.
at least 2.
So that is like $2,000 a year in terms of taxes? About?
Yeah, it's probably closer, with interest and penalties, it's probably closer to 45.
Yeah, it was 42 when I first saw it.
So if we had him pay taxes on it, then we would have to deal with the building, is that correct?
Well, I think
And he has the right to own it, correct?
if you go after your tax dollars
Mhm.
and foreclose on the property, take the property, lien the property,
Mhm.
and deed it, then you're going to own this building for
On
back
his-
taxes on his lot.
Lot,
And he's interested in collecting rent if you,
right. And aren't there also fees for being part of the park as well?
probably, yes, we didn't discuss that.
Yeah, okay, so.
Can't you bring us some easy things to decide, not these hard things, jeez.
And in the course of discussion, it turned out that Glenn was actually from Deerfield and knows me, so,
There you go.
Oh, well.
which didn't make it any more comfortable for me.
So maybe typing this up would be really lovely for everybody involved.
It pains me to say it, but why don't you take it and demolish it? Just waive it.
I think he does seem serious about demolishing it, and I talked with our attorney briefly, who basically gave me both sides of the coin and says, yeah, let me know what the board does.
No hazardous waste in any of those structures, right?
Not that I could tell at all,
No
no.
ways to deal with whatever it is.
There are 2 sheds that are empty there, and there's a fairly strong odor inside the home. I would say that his description is right. It's not as overwhelming as he described it, but there's definitely a fair amount of cat urine and sort of moldy smell in the walls and floor. And
Well, the silver lining is that he's gonna get rid of them, and he's gonna put 2 new ones in, and then we can tax those.
Yeah, that's a ways off, but
Well, if he's gonna demolish them, what,
he
soon?
was looking to demolish them initially last week, but
Yeah, so I assume, just as soon as he gets them out of there, he's gonna put some in, because
Yeah.
it's making him money.
And hopefully it's affordable housing for teamwork and
Okay.
people in the house in the town as well.
So you need a motion for that, I assume?
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
He's had his demolition permit for 16 since March of 21. So my suggestion is if you waive it, if the trailers are trailers are demoed within a certain amount of time,
That's a great idea.
because he might drag it out and drag it out.
his permit would expire in March.
Correct. But he only has a permit for 16, not for 18, or excuse me, not for 20.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that you give him a timeline to demo those 2. So he doesn't indeed rent it once you waive it.
So
Very
like,
good
how
point.
long? 3 months? 90 days?
No more than that.
60 days?
No more than that. No more than 90. 60 is great, no more than 90. That's my suggestion.
That's a really good idea.
So he
that's a
doesn't
good one.
Clean it up and
Yeah.
I
Once
like
it's
60.
waived.
I like 60
I
better than
do
90.
too. I do too.
It's the holidays, you get to
Oh,
demolish.
jeez.
So would you like me
Thank
to offer this to
Thank
him,
you.
and then you can make a motion?
Yes.
Yes, we'll waive the taxes, whatever it is, the 4,500, if he does the demolition within 60 days.
If we make a motion now, and then if it changes, we can go back, that way you can get it moving quickly?
Certainly.
Does it work, can you work that way?
And when his initial proposal that I saw, which was dated probably the end of September or early October, he was looking for permission at that time so he could try to get things done by November 10th.
Right, so
So I
let's move it
think
along.
he'll move fairly quickly if
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
And then hopefully someone can.
So I move to waive the taxes on 20 Mass Road, waive the taxes and interest and any penalties that might have accrued. in exchange for him demolishing the property within 60 days of today.
Today, yeah.
I second that motion.
Roll call vote. Selectman Bugby.
Yes.
Select person Casper. Selectman Brown, yes.
Okay, very good.
Motion passes.
I will approach Mr. Reich tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
A couple of other pieces of information. Let me see if I can find my cheat sheet here. I have received all the insurance premium information for the July 2022 renewals. And I'll just run through them. I can also email these to you. But medical rates, the New Hampshire groups on overall increase of 6.2%. Lee's actual increase, and this is the guaranteed number for July renewal, is 5.4%. And that would move us from $35,430 a month to $37,343 a month. Dental rate saw a 1.5% decrease across all plans. Short-term DI went up 0.7%. Long-term DI and life insurance had no rate changes. Unfortunately, on the property and liability side, things were not quite so rosy. Their not to exceed estimate for the July renewal for our property and liability package went up 13.7% from $50,609 to $57,542, primarily claims-based. And workers' comp, their not to exceed estimate went up 6.5%, $2,478 from $38,121 to $40,599. And Joanne and I will be plugging these numbers into the budget, but just wanted to give the board a heads up as to what we were looking at. Couple of other small things. The library wanted panic buttons or a panic button in the town hall where they're having children's programs. We made arrangements to get them a panic button, but unfortunately there is no active phone line in the town hall building right now. So the panic buttons do not work, and they can get a cellular panic button. It's considerably more expensive than the phone line panic buttons, so we'll be coming back to you pretty quickly, wanting to know if you're interested in putting a phone in the town hall, or should we encourage the library to put a phone in the town hall. I did inquire with Steve Bullock today about the fire and burglar alarm operationality in the town hall, and he explained to me that that apparently is wired through the annex, and that is not affected. The fire and burglar alarms will still go off, but there's no phone line that connects to the town hall building at this point for the others, so. And not to keep this going forever, but two other things that I'm working on. It came to Denise and my attention that the town needs to rewrite its CDL drug and alcohol policy. We've got a very outdated policy. The folks that do the testing for us had suggested to Denise actually a while ago that this needs to be done. So I pulled that. Have a bunch of different updated plans that I'm attempting to work into one for Lee. They offered to help us for a rather large amount of money to draft one.
I'm sure they did.
So I'm going, and they will inspect something that we put together to make sure that it meets compliance. There are 11 federal components you have to meet. So I think I'm capable of doing that, and we're moving forward. We also got dinged on the audit for not having an IT emergency response plan in the event that we had a major IT incident. So we don't have, that I can find anywhere, an IT incident response plan. So I'm working on one of those as well. Our insurer, Primex, had some information that's supposed to help you do this, and when I clicked on it, it suggests that you call an attorney or hire a consultant to put this together for you. So I'm seeing if I can work around that with maybe some work that other communities have done, and we'll be back to the board with those. And I think that's all I had under town administrator.
Great.
Do you have questions or concerns for me?
Karen?
No, I thought you raised your hand. I saw something out of the corner of my eye. No, The thing, and we can blame Denise for this, because she knows better. The budget that you're gonna present tomorrow night needs to be to the ABC like 72 hours beforehand, so they can review it. And the thing is, other ones are relatively small, yours is massive. So they might ask you, or I might ask you, to come back again to answer questions, because that's an awful lot of information to hit those people with almost no, preparation,
They're a
so.
really smart team though.
Yeah, I know, but they're not that smart, so. So just FYI,
What do we
Fully
suggest?
understood, and I appreciate the heads up.
so like 72 hours, so it gives them at least some time to review all this stuff, and yours is about the biggest one, maybe Steve's is too, but yours is the biggest one, you've got a lot of information in
Are
it.
you saying we should move the meeting?
No, I'm saying they could present it, but we might have to have them back in to answer questions of people, and they might not have any questions, but,
Okay.
Nope, be glad to come back.
so we'll blame Denise on this one.
You can blame me.
No, you didn't know,
Somebody.
she did. I'll blame her anyways, even if she didn't know.
Okay. Anything else? I will be quiet then.
Any miscellaneous unfinished business?
We've got the consent agenda in there.
And we can make a motion to enter in a non-public session.
Okay, we actually have to do the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, where is it? Oh, yeah,
No.
okay. Motion to accept the consent agenda as
Second.
presented, huh?
Oh, we need to vote.
Selectmen, can I get it? Well, motion to accept the consent agenda as
Second.
presented.
Second. And we need
Thank
to
you.
vote.
I have a second. Roll call vote. Selectman Bugby?
Yes.
Select person Casper?
Yes.
Selectman Brown, yes. Motion passes.
Here are the signature forms. Okay, this evening.
Beautiful. What else do we need?
We also have the sales ratio survey, which needs signature.
Here, I can start that while you're signing.
Yeah, you can do that one.
We'll
while I
pass
do
back
this.
to you. Look at all those signed here.
Just corrections, right?
You're on your ink. Go home.
Did you do it already?
We just doing it now.
Fini.
What do you need to say something?
No, I was here in case you had questions.
Karen says we don't have any questions.
No questions, you're good.
Oh, good, all right. Fine.
Nice to see you, Deb.
You
See
did
you-
such a good job. That's
see you
all
later.
set. Yeah. Today's the 15th.
Conservation Commission, she heads the track.
Hmm?
Down here.
Yeah, we're approving all of them. Keep it one.
You just pick any one, I
Just
know,
pick
the
one.
last one.
Pick one. I'll take offense no matter where you sign.
I've noticed, but I'm being very quick.
Uh-oh.
Right. That's a record-breaking meeting for me.
We're not done yet.
Well, I know, but. We'll get it back to you in a minute, Mr. Brown.
Okay.
Do that one again. So easy to have a couple slip through.
To me, like, watched last night's episode,
Beautiful.
I'll tell you. So,
those are for you to sign. I think
Not
we
last
signed
night.
those.
I didn't say that all day. There was one for your parties. But like last night, like, and then Casey went to this rich guy's house as a livestock agent. Trash.
So has the forensic IT people figured out all reasons why Karen Rossi's account got hacked? She's been going to bad sites.
Oh my God, and they assured me it wouldn't happen again.
But they don't know.
They don't know, they couldn't find a single trace today.
Wow,
Isn't that weird?
that was scary.
And they checked everything. Because they said, so I went to two-party authenticity, is that right?
Yep.
So when I go to log on to my email from someplace else, I get a text message?
Right,
Yep.
so how did that person get through?
No idea.
Because it definitely looked like it was coming right from you.
Sounds like
It was such a random message to,
Sounds like an inside job to me.
Ooh, I better put the chief on it. Yeah.
I'm the last person you want to decide.
And I'm the second to last person.
So you should check, maybe Bill Booth is pulling a funny on you or something. like
Maybe,
that.
but I got like 300 return that didn't go through.
Really?
And then my computer locks.
oh, wow.
I can't give or receive any emails until Back Bay does their thing and unlocks it.
Oh, no.
So they send a message to everybody on your contact list or something?
And they usually picked like our last email and piggybacked on
Whatever it was.
whatever it was. And it started at 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
6:42 was mine.
I
That's
remember
terrifying.
about 6 Christmas Eves ago, I was at a friend's house, and I used to, when I got an email, it would ding. And also I hear ding, ding,
Oh,
ding,
no.
ding, 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 ding. And it just kept going.
Yeah.
And I looked at my phone, and I already had 100 or something emails. I'm like, what the? I called Steve, I didn't know what to do, and Steve's like, yeah, I'll get right on it. And yeah, by the time he got anything, I had 600 or something emails.
Oh, my gosh.
Junk emails.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you guys get one from me today too, a crazy one too?
No.
No?
No, and.
It must have gotten
What is
returned.
it?
Yeah, because you sent me, at least, you sent one to me and one to John, so we both got emails too.
Yeah.
And they're just normal.
Yeah.
You know,
You got a
expecting, they
normal
were,
email
they
from Karen?
Like there's somebody in this room, I said, don't open an email for me, and she did.
let me rephrase it. Just- No, I didn't know, I didn't know about it when we received it. It was just, and it was an expected message.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
wasn't a
but-
weird zip. Was
I
it?
didn't get one.
They probably get sent back to me,
No problem.
because
But Jimmy
everybody got,
Jimmy wants something? Jimmy, are you here for a reason, or you just,
Enjoying the meeting.
is there something we can help you with, or?
I'm here to listen.
I
Okay.
love that. That's awesome.
You guys have pissed me off and I'm gonna be listening.
Good.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Anything we can do to not
Fine.
piss you off?
We like him being here, just not.
I didn't want him to sit there when we go into non-public if he
Yeah.
wants something.
Motion to enter into non-public session per New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3,
Some of it.
Roman numeral code.
Second?
you watch Yellowstone?
Hmm?
Yellowstone? Yeah.
You wanna?
Can I
Did
get
you
a
watch
roll
it last
call
night?
vote? Selectman Bugby?
Yes.
I forgot.
Selectperson Casper?
Yes.
Selectman Brown, yes.
What was the, I missed it, started.
Motion to seal the minutes.
Second the motion.
Get a second.
Second.
Mr.
Roll
Brown?
call vote. Selectman Bugby?
Aye.
Selectperson Casper?
Aye.
Selectman Brown? Yes. Motion passes.
Look at that.
Don't forget there's an ABC meeting tomorrow night.
Yep.
And then Wednesday night is
ABC meeting tomorrow.
ABC tomorrow.
financial planning tool?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
we moved that to the December 1st Wednesday.
I-
Oh, we did?
You actually made the
Well,
motion.
that's true. Okay, good. I thought I was gonna be out all 4 nights this week, but,
No.
oh, I get a Wednesday off, yeah.
We don't get Wednesday off. We're all going to the big municipal.
Well, we have a pretty good break coming up very soon.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's ABC,
Tomorrow's ABC.
Tomorrow's
in
ABC.
this room.
Yeah.
I was thinking tomorrow was Wednesday and I got really confused, but it is Tuesday, which is good.
Wednesday is the municipal
I'm
association.
not excited. What time do you get there? Is it starts at 8:45?
Breakfast is at what, 8 or something? I don't know, I've got to check that.
I saw the opening remarks are at 9. So
Okay, and I saw something about 8:45 something, so as long as I'm there, I just have to drop kids off at
Mhm.
7:30.
I'll bring the kids, they'll love it.
My daughter's the president of the class, she's got to go to our little board meeting soon.
Good.
All right, We good?
Nope, not yet.
Oh,
Meeting adjourned.
there you go.